This conference will now be recorded.
Right, so yesterday we have seen how to work with filter dependent baddies. Okay, so what we have done yesterday is in one of the enhancement spot, if you go to SC18, in this particular enhancement spot, we created one filter dependent baddie. This is a baddie we have created, multiple use baddie. As part of this baddie, we have created one filter by name what country, and this filter is referring to what a dictionary object, what land one, it is referring to the data element land one, and this data element is having one domain, and that domain is associated with a value table T006 where all the country keys are stored. So I need to enter only the valid country keys which are configured in the SAP system. So this filter is referring to what? A data element. This data element can be a standard data element or it can be user defined data element. In this case, it is standard data element. And whenever we implement any filter dependent baddies, what you have to do as part of every implementation, we can maintain what one or more filter values. So as part of this implementation, we maintain some three filter values. So if you see this one, this first implementation, we have maintained what? Three filter values. Afghanistan, Argentina, Australia. As part of second baddie implementation, we maintained two filter values, Belgium and Brazil. In the third implementation, we maintained two more filter values, Argentina and what? India. Argentina is part of what? First implementation as well as a third implementation. And apart from this, as part of baddie definition, we have associated what? Fallback class. As part of this fallback class, we can provide some default implementation. And then we wrote the program to trigger this particular custom baddie. How do we trigger? As part of creating the baddie class object, as part of this get baddie statement, I have to use an addition called as filters. I need to supply the filter value. So whatever the filter value we supply at the time of triggering the baddie, based on this filter value, SAP will check what are the active implementations which matches this particular filter values, and only those active implementations will be executed. If none of the active implementations satisfies those filter values, SAP checks whether the baddie has got any fallback class. If any fallback class implementation is available, it executes that particular implementation. Okay, so this is what we have discussed yesterday. Any questions related to this? Right. So now let us create one more filter dependent baddie. The change I'll do is, in the yesterday's case, we created only one filter. We created only one filter type, which is referring to what? A data element. Okay, now I will not refer to any data element. So let us say, and I'll create what? Multiple filter types. This is another difference between classic baddie and kernel baddies. Classic baddies means the old baddies. In case of old baddies, that is classic baddies, we can define only one filter type. But in case of kernel baddies, what are the new baddies we create from 6.0? It is called as what? Kernel baddies. In kernel baddies, we have the provision to create what? Multiple filter types. This is another difference between classic baddie and kernel baddie. So what is the agenda now? Let us create one more filter dependent baddie with multiple filter types, right? So same process in we need to create the baddie inside what? Enhancement spot. I can consider an existing enhancement spot or create a new enhancement spot. So if you go to SC18, I'll take the same enhancement spot, ZCST enhancement spot. I'll open it in change mode in SC18. I'll open the existing enhancement spot. Here I'll try to create the baddie definition. I'll click on the button create baddie. I'll give the name of the baddie as something ZFT baddie. Yesterday I gave FLT baddie. I'll get a ZFT baddie. I'll give the description. Custom baddie with what? Multiple filter types. With multiple filter types. Continue. Yeah, the baddie gets created. As part of this baddie definition, we need to associate what? One interface. Let me give the interface name ZIF underscore EX underscore what? The baddie name. What is the baddie name? FT baddie. So I'm following the naming convention. When I press enter, interface does not exist. Let us create it. Right. I'll give the method name as something M1. Let us take it as an instance. Yesterday for the method we have taken one changing parameter. Now I'm not interested. I'll just create a method without any parameters. Activate the interface. Interface is activated. Next, what you have to do? Yeah, I need to create this baddie as filter dependent. How do we create the filter? Right click on the baddie definition and say what? Create filter. Yeah, it is asking the filter name. Yesterday I give a filter name as something country. I'll give the filter name as something user name. User name, any user defined name. Filter type. This is another difference. In case of classic baddie, filter type supports only one data type, which is character. But here it supports around 5 different data types. I'll go for character type. I'll give a description. I'll give a description as something username. So yesterday what we have done, we have selected the radio button automatic through dictionary and we are referring to a data element called as land1. Okay, so we have to enter only the valid country case because that land1 is having a domain associated with the value table T006. What are the countries defined in those table? Only those countries I can provide when you are associating the filter values. Here I can say what? No check means I'm not referring to any dictionary object. Right? So what is the filter name? Username. It's of type character or I can take it as string, whatever it is. No check. Continue. Right. One filter is created. I want to create one more filter. So you can see there is a button what? Create filter. Okay. I'll say create filter. I'll give a filter name as something password. Let us give it as character. I'll provide some description. Here also I'll select what? No check. Continue. So what is the change? We have created what? Two filter types which are not referring to any dictionary object. Done. Okay, so that's it. We are done with the baddie definition and it is multiple use only. By default, multiple use is selected. If you want to associate any fallback class, we can associate the fallback class. It is our wish. So let me activate the enhancement spot. Yes, enhancement spot is activated. Next, we need to provide the implementations. So I'll go to SC19. I can provide the implementations inside a fresh enhancement implementation, or I can consider the existing enhancement implementation. So I'll go for existing enhancement implementation ZENHIMPL1 underscore so and so. I'll open it in change mode. Already this enhancement implementation has got some baddie implementation. So within the same enhancement implementation, I'll provide baddie implementations for our new baddie. So I'll click on what create same navigations, create baddie implementation. Okay, which baddie you want to implement. This enhancement spot has got three baddie definitions. So if you browse this, yes, it has got three baddie definitions. I'll choose what Z FT baddie. Done. Implementation class. I'll give the name as something Z. Sorry, it is asking the baddie implementation name. I'll give it as something ZFT baddie underscore IMPL1. Provide the implementation class. I'll give it as ZCL underscore IM underscore FT baddie underscore implementation. Provide the description. Right, this is the baddie implementation name. This is the implementation class I'm proposing on top of baddie implementation. Continue. Class does not exist. Done. So this is my implementation class. I'll double click on the method, provide the implementation. I'll provide some message kind of thing so that we can understand whether it is getting called or not. So I'll say something message first implementation for method what M1. Activate the method implementation. Activate your implementation class. Double click on the class and activate. Yeah, it is activated. Next, I can provide some filter values now. I can ignore it, but if you're creating a filter, if you're implementing a filter dependent body, generally we'll provide the filter values. So I'll double click on this filter value. Yeah, here I'll click on what? Create filter combination. How many filters are there? Two filters. So I'll click on create filter combination. It is showing both the filters. I want to provide the values for both the filters. I'll just select both of them. Continue. Yeah, here you can see it has created password and username. So I'll just double click on this empty combination. Yeah, what is this password? I'll give the password as something P1 equal to something. Let's password P1 equal to password done. Continue. I'll provide the username also. I'll double click on this. I'll give the username as something. Actually, you can see here when I browse this, I'm not getting any F4 values. Yesterday, that filter is associated with what? A data element, and that data element is having a domain. That domain contains a value table. When I browse this, it was showing all the country keys, but here it is not referring to any dictionary object. So I have to give that values manually. Let me give the value as what u1 equal to. Right. So this is one combination u1 and what p1. Like this, I can in each implementation, I can provide any number of what implementation. So again, I'll click on what create filter combination. I'll select both the filter types. Continue. Provide the values. So I'll double click on username. Username, I'll give it as something u2. Similarly, I'll provide the password also. So two filter values, u1, p1, and what is the other combination, u2 and what, p2. Save it, check for the syntax error, activate this. Done, it is activated. Let me provide one more implementation. So I'll click on what? Create. Within the same enhancement implementation, I'm providing one more bad implementation. Same navigations, done. I'll give the baddie definition. What is that? ZFT baddie. What is the implementation name? ZFT baddie underscore IMPL2. Implementation class. ZCL underscore IM underscore FT baddie underscore IMPL2. Provide the description. I'll give the description as what? Second implementation. Continue. Class does not exist. Yeah, I'll save it in what? Local object. ZFT baddie underscore IMPL2. Done. So I'll expand this. Right, implementing class. I'll double click on this. Provide some message kind of thing. Same navigations. Activate the method. Activate the implementation class. Provide the filter values. So I'll double click on the filter value. We have to create the empty combination first, right? Let's provide the values for both the filter types, right? So I'll just double click on this empty combination. I'll give the values p3 equal to so and so. Similarly for username also. That's it. Okay. So I'll give only this, only one filter combination, u3 and p3. Save it. Check for the syntax error. Activate this. Right. So we have implemented the baddie. We have we have provided two implementations for our filter dependent baddie. First implementation has got two filter values. Second one has got only one filter value. U1 P1, U2 P2 in first implementation, U3 P3 in what? Second implementation. What is the next job here? We need to trigger this particular baddie, right? So we already know how to trigger. So I'll go to SC38, Z trigger underscore FLT baddie. I'll copy this. I'll copy it to FT baddie. Trigger multiple filter dependent baddies. Yeah. So here, what is the first step? We need to declare the reference for your baddie. How do you declare? Data OB type ref to FT baddie. Done. And then if I, okay, let me comment this part. If I simply say get baddie OB, it will give error, na? Because your baddie is having what? Filters. So when I do syntax check, I'm getting an error. What is that? Filters addition is required for baddies with what? Filters. And our baddie has got how many filters? Two filters. I'll do one thing. Get baddie OB filters. What is the first filter? Username. So I'll say username equal to. I'll directly hard code. If you don't want to hard code, pass it from the input. Take parameters and read the values and supply that values. So username equal to u1. This also should give me an error because your baddie is associated with what? Multiple filter types. So it is mandatory to supply the values for all the filter types. So when I do syntax check, yeah, you can see I got a different error. Filter password must be specified for the baddie so and so. Okay, so this is also giving me what? Syntax error. So I'll say get baddie OB username. You have to separate with space. What is the second filter type? Password equal to. I'll say something P1. I'll give it in lowercase. Wantedly, I'm giving in what? Lowercase. So filter values are what? Filter values are what? Case sensitive. Filter values are case sensitive. So here, yeah, I'm calling the baddie method M1. So if you see, we have two implementations. If you go to SC19 or SC18, this baddie has got two implementations. If you see the first implementation, what is the combination here? Combination of filter values. If I expand this, what is this? U1, P1 in uppercase. So filter values are case sensitive. So here I'm giving what? U1 in uppercase, P1 in lowercase. So it doesn't match, na? So it will not execute. And even I don't have any fallback class, so nothing gets executed. So when I do syntax check, no errors, I'll say F8. F8, nothing is happening. Nothing is getting executed. So what is the meaning? Filter values are what? Case sensitive. So I'll say U1 and P1, right? So this is available in the first implementation. So when I execute, yes, I got only the first implementation. Okay, so even though there are two what active implementations. Okay, so if you see this particular baddie, it has got what two active implementations. Both are active, but only appropriate implementation gets executed depending on the filter values we pass. If there are no implementation matches this filter value, none of the active implementation gets executed. SAP will check whether we have any fallback class implementation. If you have fallback class implementation, it gets executed. Otherwise, it ignores, nothing gets executed. So this is about filters, sorry, baddies with what? Multiple filter types. In case of older versions, that is in 4.7 version where we have classic baddies, we have the support only for what? One filter type. So in the entry point of view, they'll ask you what is the difference between classic baddie and kernel baddie. One of the what are the differences you have seen? In case of classic baddie, only one filter type is supported. In case of kernel baddies, we can have multiple filter types. Second difference is in classic baddies, the filter type, data type should be character only, but here in kernel baddies, we have the support for 5 different data types. Another difference is in case of classic baddies, we don't have support for fallback class. In case of kernel baddies, we have the support of what fallback class, so that if none of the active implementation gets executed, we can associate some default implementation as part of fallback class that gets executed when none of the active baddie implementation gets executed. They are the three differences we have seen so far. Yeah, any questions? See, all this, whatever I'm talking, these differences are there in the material. I don't know how many if you're observing, but if you see this here, difference between classic baddies and what? Kernel baddies. Difference between customer exits and baddies in the material which I have shared earlier. So you can see, in case of classic baddie, baddie definitions and baddie implementations are stored what? Independently. They are stored what? Independently. Here in case of kernel baddies, baddie definitions are stored inside enhancement spot and baddie implementations are stored inside enhancement implementations. Classic baddie supports single filter type, kernel baddie supports multiple filter types. And in case of classic baddie, filter type must be data element with only character type. Here kernel baddies filter type can be user defined, we have seen that today, or it can be dictionary object, data element or domain, and it supports what? 5 different data types. And if you see the fifth point, fourth point, you'll understand later on. In case of fifth point, fallback class not supported. Fallback class is supported in case of kernel baddies. Okay, so refer to these slides. Okay, yeah, any questions before I continue? Right, so We have seen in the last three examples, we have seen custom body which is filter independent, and yesterday we have seen custom body with one filter type. Today we have seen custom body with what, two filter types. Now let us take one what standard body which is having what filters. Already we have implemented one standard body customer underscore add underscore data to provide some additional validation in the transaction XD01. We implemented that particular body. So what I'll do is, let me go to XD01. Let me check whether this transaction is working or not. So I'll go to XD01. Okay, so I want to deactivate this. I want to deactivate this particular implementation. So how do I deactivate? Already we know. So if you go to SC18, what is the enhancements part? Customer underscore add underscore data. For in this enhancements part, we have one body definition, what? Customer underscore add underscore data. If I expand, it has got some implementations. What are they? Yeah, they are the implementations. So you can see all are inactive, but this is active. What is that? ZENHIMPL3 is what? Active. Okay. What is the implementation name? ZBADI IMPL5. So let me make it inactive. So how do you inactivate that in SC19? SC19. What is the enhancement implementation it is showing here? ZENHIMPL3, ZENHIMPL3, ZENHIMPL3 is a enhancement implementation. I'll operate in change mode, right? Yeah, if I go to enhancement implementation elements, yeah, I think ZBADI IMPL5 only, na? ZBADI IMPL5 is active, right? I want to deactivate that. So this is my enhancement implementation. I'll just deselect this checkbox. Okay, let me save it. Check for the syntax error. Activate this. Yeah, I'm doing the forceful activation. Activated. Let me cross check here. So I'll just go back. Again, I'll come inside. If you see the implementations, yeah, all are what? Inactive. Okay, so let me run the T code now. So I don't have any active implementations for the standard body customer data. So why I'm inactivating is in the same body, in the same transaction, we will implement another body. Okay, so I'll go to XD01, sold to party R3 to CRM, right? I'll give the country as India. I'm not providing any industry key, I'll save it. Industry is mandatory for Indian customers. Why it is still asking? I'll save it. Okay. Yeah, account has been created. So let me check whether any customer exit is available. So I'll go to CMOD, CMOD. I'll give some project, create. What is the customer exit related to XG01 transaction we have implemented? SAP MF02D. If you remember 4-5 days back or last week, what is that? SAP MF02D. Yeah, it belongs to the project what? ZPRJ1. So let me delete it. I'm not interested in this ZPRJ1, or I'll just deactivate this. Activation of project has been undone. Done. It is deactivated. Let me run the T code and check XD01. I'll save it. Yeah, done. Okay, so I have deactivated the baddie. I have deactivated the customer exit also. Done. So what is our agenda now? Let us take one standard baddie, which is having what filter dependent, which is filter dependent. So earlier baddie what we implemented. So in that enhancement spot, if I go to SC18, this is a standard enhancement spot. In this enhancement spot, we add one baddie definition, customer underscore add underscore data. Okay. If I expand this baddie doesn't have any filter. Na? This standard baddie doesn't have any filter, right? So what I need to do, I need to look for a baddie which is having what filter, right? So in case of custom baddie, we are creating the filter as part of baddie definition. We are providing the filter values as part of baddie implementations, and we are passing the filter values at the time of triggering the baddie, right? If you take standard baddie, in case of standard baddie, the filter type will be given by SAP itself as part of baddie definition. Our job is only to associate the filter values at the time of implementing the standard filter dependent baddie. Okay, our job is only to provide the filter values at the time of implementation. So what I'll do is within the same transaction XD01, within the same transaction XD01, I'll check whether we have any filter dependent baddies. Already we know the mechanism to search for the baddies. No? So if you go to SC93, what is the mechanism we already discussed? What is the T code in which I want to look for baddies? XD01. Right? If I display, for this particular T code, you have to identify the main program. This is the program. If I double click on the program, for this program, I need to collect the package name. So I'll choose go to what? Attributes. What is the package name here? VS is the package name. So once I get the package name, right? I'll go to what? SC84 Business Repository Information System, right? Under this, under enhancements node, under what? Business add-ins, right? Double click on what? Definitions. We are interested to look for the baddies inside which package? VS. So provide the package name, right? So whether you want to search for classic baddies or kernel baddies or both. I'll go for what? Both. If I choose classic baddies, let me check what happens if I choose classic baddies. When I execute, good. It is showing only what? Three baddies. Customer data BI, customer data. Means what is the meaning of this classic baddies? These baddies are also available in what? Older versions. And they exist independently in the older versions. From the new versions, they are embedded inside what? Enhancement spot. It is showing only three baddies here. I'll select kernel baddies. If I execute this, it is showing you what? Five baddies. Am I clear? Five baddies. So I'll choose all here. I think all also will get five only. Yeah, we are getting eight. We are getting eight. It is showing both classic as well as kernel. Done. Right? So these are the baddies. Understood? Always better to check what? All here so that you'll get the old baddies as well as the new baddies introduced from 6.0. So when I execute, already we implemented what is the baddie we implemented customer at Yeah, is my voice is audible? Hello?
Yes, sir, it's audible.
Okay, fine, fine. Right. So, what is the baddie we implemented earlier? Customer underscore add underscore data, which is available in the enhancements part so and so, right? And just now we have cross-checked. This baddie is not filter dependent. It doesn't have any filter. I'll take another baddie. You can see here. Customer underscore add underscore data underscore CS. We have a body customer underscore add underscore data underscore CS, which is embedded inside the enhancement spot what? Customer underscore add underscore data underscore CS. The enhancement spot name is also same. What is the enhancement spot name? Customer at data CS, and the body name is customer at data CS. Same thing. So I collected some enhancement spot. So I'll go to SC18. What is the enhancement spot? Customer underscore add underscore data underscore what? CS. Customer underscore add underscore data underscore CS is a enhancement spot. If I'll try to open in change mode, it will ask you what access key. I cannot modify, right? So let me open it in what display mode, right? If I open it in display mode, yeah. So this is the enhancement spot. If I open it in display mode, this enhancement spot has got only one baddie definition. What is this? Customer at data CS. Okay. Let me expand this. Yeah, good. It is showing you the filter, na? Right? If I double click on this, yes, it is showing you one filter. So this is a standard baddie which is filter dependent. Hope it's clear to everyone. Earlier baddie, customer data, it is a standard baddie which is filter independent. This is filter dependent. So as I told you, in case of standard baddies, if it is filter dependent, the filter type is given by whom? By SAP itself. It is given by what? SAP itself. And we understood from the last two sessions, filter type can refer to a dictionary object, or it can be what? A user defined. So what is the filter type SAP has given for this body? It is what type here? Character type. Okay, if I see the details, you can see it is character type. They are also referring to what? A dictionary object. What is a dictionary object here? Cust underscore screen group. The filter name is also same. The data element name is also same. Yesterday, I took the filter name as country, and what was the data element? Land one. Okay, here they took the same name, no problem. So it is referring to what? The dictionary object what? Cust underscore SCGR. Might be it is a data element because this is not selected. Na? Object is domain is not selected. So what is that? Cust underscore SCGR. Cust underscore SCGR. So if I go to ABAP dictionary, yeah, if I go to ABAP dictionary, what is the data element we collected there? Cust underscore what? SCGR. Cust underscore SCGR. If I display, yes, it is character of 2. It is associated with the domain so and so. What is the description? Screen group, add-on enhancement, customer master. So screen group it seems, which is character of 2. So what we analyzed is, we have a standard body which is filter dependent, and this filter type is what type? Character type, referring to what? Some what? Data element. Some data element, cust underscore screen group. And for this baddie, if I click on this implementations, we are having the implementations, but all these are what? The standard implementations given by SAP. We need not bother about that. I don't have any Z implementation. So let us implement the baddie here. Let us implement the baddie. So how do I proceed further now? Yes, anyone? How do I proceed? We identified that in the transaction XG01, we have one baddie with the name customer at data CS. Customer at data CS. Okay, so how do I proceed now? I need to implement this baddie. Before I do the implementation, what I have to do? Yes, anyone. Before implementing any customer exit or any standard baddie, what we need to do? Anyone? Yes, anyone? What we have to do, Ashish, Keshav? We need to read the documentation. Already I told you was. See, blindly we should not learn the concepts. Okay. So when you're working with the enhancement, the first and foremost thing is we need to read the documentation. By reading the documentation, we will understand the purpose of that particular enhancement. Okay. So here the enhancement is what? Baddie. I need to check any documentation available for this. Any documentation here, if I go to attributes, what is the description they are giving here? See, additional data at what? Customers, subscreen container what? 4000. So they're talking about subscreen. Subscreen. If you remember 1 week back, we have implemented one screen enhancement using customer exit. What is the job of screen enhancement? To plug what? Additional fields. I told that in general, the additional fields we will not directly add on the standard screen. We'll add it inside what? A subscreen. And in the runtime, subscreen will sit on top of what? Subscreen area. Right? So here also they're talking about subscreen might be this is a baddie related to screen enhancement. Any further documentation here? Yeah, you can see it. It is migrated from. It is a classic baddie. It is got migrated. Okay, done. Okay, I don't have any much information here. So I'll do one thing. Every baddie will have a interface. So if I go to this interface, this is the interface. What is that? If underscore ex underscore customer data cs. And this interface has got many methods. We don't know which method you have to implement. We don't know why we have to implement. Okay. So if I double click on the interface, let me check any documentation available. So if I double click on the interface, right? This interface has got this, it has taken the control to the class builder. If you go through this interface documentation, no documentation available. Okay, I'll put the cursor in individual method. Let me check any documentation available. So I'll put the cursor and I'll just go to documentation to component. They gave some documentation. Okay, so they with this method the current data from the standard dialog is made available. So they gave some documentation to each and every method. Okay, I'll put the cursor in the interface. I'll just go to documentation to component, no documentation available. Okay, so I don't have much in, we are having the documentation for individual methods. Suppose I'll select the method what? Get taxi screen. I'll just go to documentation to component. Yes, here also we have some documentation. What is this saying here? Determine screen for what? Tabs. With this method, you transfer your subscreen to the standard. It should then appear on a tab page. So what is this here? You transfer your subscreen. Means we are going to design our own subscreen, and that subscreen will be appearing as what? A tab page. So we know module pool programming. In module pool programming, we have tab strip control. Na? A tab strip control is a collection of what? Tab buttons. Every tab will be associated with a subscreen. So whatever the subscreen we are going to design, it will be associated with the tab page itself. So like this, you have to read the documentation and understand. Right. Anyhow, we understood that it is a old Badina which got migrated to what? Enhancement spot. So I'll do one thing. I'll try to open the baddie independently. Understood? In this version, it is embedded inside what? Enhancement spot. But it is a classic Badina, right? It is also having the older versions. So I'll just directly choose this. I'll directly give the baddie name. What is that? Customer underscore add underscore data underscore what? CS. Customer at data CS. If I display, yeah, you can see I'm able to open it independently. Okay, how I'm able to open independently? Clearly, it is saying that it is migrated now. Okay, it is migrated. Where is that? We have seen that. Yeah, you can see it is migrated. Means it is available independently also in the older versions. Clear? So that's why I'm able to open that baddie independently here. So if I go to SC18, what is the baddie name? Same as enhancement spot name. If I display, why I'm doing all these things? I want to read the documentation. If I go through the enhancement spot, I am unable to see the documentation at the baddie level, but we are having the documentation. We are having the documentation. What? For the individual methods, but I'm interested to check whether any documentation available for the baddie level. That is the reason I'm opening independently display. Yeah. What is the description here? Additional data at customer subscreen container 4000. Yeah, you can see it is a multiple use baddie. It is filter dependent. Already we have seen that. Baddie migrates to enhancement spot what? So and so, right? So when I'm implementing this baddie, it has the implementation should be stored inside what? Enhancement implementation, because it is stored inside what? Enhancement spot. All right. And this is the interface we have seen done. This interface has got what? Some methods. Let me check any documentation available. I'll click on documentation. Yes, there is some documentation available. Am I clear what I'm trying to do? So no one will tell us open enhancement spot, open baddie. We have to do all this analysis. Understand? It is not so straightforward. Okay. So from the enhancement spot, I am unable to locate any documentation for the baddie. We are having the documentation for the individual baddie interface methods, but we understood that it got migrated, means it is a old baddie. So I am able to open that baddie independently from SC18, right? And yesterday and today or day before yesterday also we have created some custom baddie. I'll try to open that baddies independently. What is that? ZFT baddie which I created just now. I'll display, right? So you can see here it is showing inside what? Enhancement spot. Am I clear? And what is the yesterday's baddie? ZFLT baddie, right? If I display, yes, it is also showing inside what? Enhancement spot. The screen is different, remember. And day before yesterday, we have created this custom body. It is also inside what? Enhancement spot. Understood? But whereas here, this body, if you observe, it is the old body, which is available in the older version. So you can see the look and feel here. If I open directly, it is the screen appearance is different. Here it is giving the information saying that it got migrated to the enhancement spot, so on. So fine. I'll click on the documentation. If you click on the documentation, we have the documentation. We have to read and analyze this. So business add-in, what is saying here? Customer subscreens. CS, wherever you see CS in baddie names, understand that as what? Customer subscreens. Customer subscreen means we can plug our own subscreens to accommodate what? Additional fields. So what they are saying, business add-in customer subscreens, application components so and so. You use the baddie, customer at data CS and customer at data. It is saying both. You use the body customer at data CS and customer at data for processing enhancements in the customer master record, nothing but XD01. You use the body customer at data CS to integrate your own subscreens, in the standard dialog. Okay, so what we understood from the documentation so far, we have to implement the body customer at data CS to plug our own subscreens in the standard dialog. You can process your own data on this subscreens. Understood? What is the purpose of adding subscreens? In that subscreen, I can place what? Additional fields. So if you want to place the additional fields, first of all you have to add the additional fields in the base table. What is the base table for customer master? K11. So first I need to add the additional fields in K11 table, then I can design the subscreen. For more information, see the documentation of what? Individual methods. Am I clear? For more information, see the documentation of individual methods. Requirements. Ensure that in customization for the customer master, under transfer customer master data fields, you have prepared the modification free enhancement of the customer record so that you have defined a screen group with a name and have labeled the tab pages. Okay, so it is asking in customization of customer master, under transfer customer master data fields, you have prepared the modification free enhancement of the customer record so that you have defined a screen group with a name and have labeled the tab pages. Requirements means prerequisites. Prerequisites means what? Before you implement this body customer data CS, they are asking us to create something called as screen group. Where we have to create the screen group, it seems in customization of what? Customer master. So all the customization settings we will do by using the transaction code SPRO. Understood? By using this SPRO T code, we'll do the customization. Generally, it is used by functional consultant, but in this case, since we have to implement this body, before implementing this body, we need to address this prerequisite. So we have to take the help of functional consultant, and by using that T code SPRO, I have to define the screen group. How can you say that? We have to use SPRO because it clearly saying in customization of what? Customer master. All the customization settings will be done by the functional consultant using the T code SPRO, right? And then what they are saying, second prerequisite, you have activated the processing of your own data. You have activated the processing of your own data with the method what? Check add-on active of the body what? Customer data. So what is the meaning here? Before you implement the body customer data CS, we must implement the body customer data, it seems. In this customer data body, what is the method we have to implement, it seems? Check add-on active, it seems. So already we implemented this customer data na, but in that body implementation, we have implemented what methods? Check all data and preset values company code. By reading the documentation now, we understood that we have to implement this body. So what is the logic we'll write in this body implement in this method? We have to check the signature of this method. We have to check the parameters of the method, analyze the signature. Based on that parameter, you have to write the appropriate logic. So there are two prerequisites before we implement this body customer data CS. What is that? First, we have to define something called as what? Screen group, it seems. Where you have to define in the customization of customer master. and then we have to implement this method of the body, customer and data. Okay, then scroll down. So by reading this documentation, we understood that we can plug what? Our subscreens in the form of what? Tabs. Our subscreens in the form of tabs. Okay, I think I need to re-log in. Right, so if you see here, if you run the T code XD01, what is the documentation saying? We can plug what? Subscreens in the form of tabs. In the form of tabs. So do we have any tabs here? No, no. This is a normal screen, right? So I'll just go inside. In this screen, you can see I'm able to see the tabs. Na? Might be these are all the standard tabs given by whom? SAP, right? So in this standard tabs, if I click on any of the tab, I'm getting the subscreen. This is again the standard subscreens given by what? SAP. So might be now what you have to do, we need to create one tab page. What is the documentation saying? We have to create the screen group and we have to name the tab pages itself. We have to name the tab pages. So somewhere we have to add the tab pages somewhere. So where we have to add, we have to discuss that in the implementation. And whenever I click on that my tab, whenever I click on that tab, I should be able to show my subscreen. That subscreen should show the additional fields. Na? So that is the process you have to follow. Am I clear to everyone? So the main point is reading the documentation. I try to read the documentation from the enhancement spot. There it is showing the documentation related to the individual methods. Okay, so first what I did, I opened that body independently because it is a classic body. I'm able to open it independently, right? And at the body level, we have the documentation. By reading the documentation, we understood what are the prerequisites. Okay, and we understood that this is related to screen enhancement. How can you say this is screen enhancement? Because agenda is what? By reading the documentation, it is understood that we can attach our own subscreen. Why do we attach our own subscreens? To show what? Additional fields. Yeah, hope this analysis is clear to everyone. So first what you have to do, we have to define the screen group it seems. Why we have to define the screen group? If you have remembered, this body is a filter dependent. Na? What is this filter type here? Cust underscore. What is this? Screen group only. Na? So I need to create the screen group. Nothing but filter values I need to create. In what? In customization of customer master. So we have to use the T code what? SPRO, and here we have to create that particular screen group. So how to use this T code, this part I'll discuss tomorrow. Okay, it takes another at least 40 minutes time to finish this example, 40-45 minutes. So I'll continue this example tomorrow, but no one is answering. Before we discuss this tomorrow session, go through the screen enhancement example which you have discussed in customer exits. What is the T code I covered there? I forgot. mp01, I think. mp01, right? So go through that recording, go through that example so that you'll have the idea, right? So we are seeing one more example on what? Screen enhancement, but this is using baddies, and we understood that it is a filter dependent baddie. So go through the last two sessions also. Custom baddie without filter, custom baddie with filter. We have seen two examples, single filter type, multiple filter type. Practice those things so that we can understand how to implement the baddie tomorrow. So any baddie you work, This is the way you have to do the analysis. Understood? So it is not so straightforward. Identifying and analyzing the body itself will take 90% of your time. Once we are clear with the analysis, once we understood the purpose of that body, implementation is only 10%. Okay, so the analysis, we have to put efforts on what? Analyzing the body by reading the documentation of the body, by reading the documentation of the body interface methods, by checking the signature of the interface methods. So based on all those analysis, we'll get some idea which body is relevant for our requirement. So our functional consultant will not come to you. He will not say to implement this body. First of all, functional consultant doesn't know anything about customer exits and bodies. It is a job of what? ABAP consultant. Your TL will not tell us, your PL will not, no one will. All are ABAP consultants, right? So it is our job to do the analysis. Clear? So I'm done for today's session. Any queries, please ask. No questions? Chalo then. So practice will continue tomorrow. Okay. Chalo. Tomorrow I'll start early. Daily I'm starting late, but tomorrow I'll try to start early by 6:10, 6:15. Okay. So that I can complete of this example and we can see menu enhancements. We have not seen any menu enhancements in customer exits and bodies. We'll try to finish off that menu enhancements also tomorrow. I'll try to start by 6:10 tomorrow. Okay. Chala then. No, I didn't get your question, Sai. No, I'm not aware of that. Okay, right. Chala then. So I'll wind off. We'll continue tomorrow.